The weakness that my younger brother and I, Ambassador Babumili Vilagazi, share is to wear our hearts on our sleeve. And for that, he was slaughtered by the ANC honchos. And they know themselves already. I don't have to spell their names all the way down, as Americans would say. And my children will be bored with me spelling out these things, but I must wear my heart on the sleeve and say, why am I doing some of the things that I'm doing? I have always been a person who's outspoken. I've been a liberation fighter. As a writer, I wrote columns expressing liberation theology very strongly, more than anybody else has ever done in this country. I also had to serve this nation by being an undercover journalist. You've never heard of that. I mean, that kind of description of a journalist. Maybe there are a lot of undercover journalists, but I was for liberation's sake. And I covered a lot of what was happening at Bekkersdal for the New Nation that was edited by Zwelakhe Sisulu, a liberation fighter in his own big right. Now, I'm trying to say to you, all these things happened because I am kind of different. I had to be a pastor and a journalist at the same time. That never happens every day. And it could have happened earlier when some of my congregants said, no, don't go into journalism straight away. And then I wrote columns. But then at Bekkersdal, I had to, so that I can cover what was happening on the ground and what the newspapers would never hop in to cover at any time when we called them to do so. So I had to do the work and personally take it to the New Nation offices. And the stories were well received and published, though without a byline. And I had to do this kind of activism because, as I can say, and you will pardon me, I'm very much own horn blowing because I have a lot of influence by Americans who say, you blow your own horn, nobody ain't gonna blow it for you. So I blow my own horn. And this is why I'm telling you, so that my children and my relatives who always fear for my life should know where it came from. I'll tell them exactly where it came from. After I left school, my uncle, Puti Ramusewa, I stayed with for about a month. I was not very well, and he was a healer and a prophet. And he told me that he's anointing me. And he anointed me with oil. And he said, you'll never work for any white man. I had not yet received the call to preach, to be a pastor. And I did that afterwards, after he had prophesied that I'll never work for a white man. I'll never be the working class, as Moemedi Kapadisa says this morning on Facebook. And I've always told the so-called activists on the ground, young people, that don't call my people, what do you call this, working class. You can't have the owners of land and come around and call them working class. So what I'm trying to say is this: as I make this call, I make a call right now to say, after a friend of mine, a professor friend of mine, met with some people at the Sharpeville commemoration service that was held on Sunday by the church. I was happy because I thought the ANC was going to totally hijack that. But when I get to know that people like Sidwell Opa, Reverend Sidwell Opa, Mohotu were there as representing, I think, a head of the SACC in Gauteng, either as secretary or president. I don't know how they style themselves these days. I've long left that field. I'm calling upon you fellows I'm calling upon you, friends, to think hard about organizing funds to work especially towards refashioning government in this country, reshaping government totally. Because as you realize, Madanga Commission, more than anything else, even including the ad hoc committee, have reshaped the way governance should be done in this country. I've called before for a permanent commission of inquiry that will always deal with issues, even though most of us are not yet put into the court of law under this Dutch Roman Dutch law that has never worked for us, and also has covered judiciary thieves and thugs. Now, this I'm calling for can also go ahead. Even if we are a small group and it is a small bunga, it is a small uh, indaba, small indaba, you cannot always compare what we can do if we are hearts are in it with those who steal millions under the guises of convention, like it was done last September by the president of his country and his cohorts, and ended up squandering millions again under the pretext of doing something for us. We have to meet like the Ethiopian movement leaders who preceded the ANC, who used to meet when they were just riding on bicycles for transport, when they were walking to meetings and still working and walking sometimes um, along the spoor of the train to trace their paths from Johannesburg to Potchefstroom and all that. And now I'm saying let's organize an Indaba to work out a way of governance for this country. Many elements will come out from you, professors. Those of you who are learned and are well versed in issues of governance and so on. I've spelled out your names, some of your names yesterday, and I'm saying now that at the helm of the SACC are activists that I know at heart, like the Reverend Opa Mohotu, who has been a co-worker with me in the SACC even when they were youth, and I was working from Soweto, organizing SACC youth from Soweto. Say to you, I'm trained to say to you, let's work out a solution. We have the minds, we have the heart to do it. Let's come together and formulate a new order, not any semblance of what is called democracy today. The space is too little for me to spell out the rot of democracy. Politicians have spelled it out. Even Jacob Zuma has spelled it out, but maybe because he was affected. And Jacob Zuma is not my friend, and he knows that very well. He's not my friend, and he knows it. Oh, he knows it. Oh, he knows it. I'm not saying this because people like Jacob Zuma have said it, and his party that I salute. I'm saying it, the clergy persons and other leaders of thought in this country have to come back together and organize a system that will lead, as South Africa, Azania is always called a gateway to the total Africa. Let us be a gateway of thought as well. Let's come together and organize this very vital, important meeting and sit down to work out not just a strategy, but to work out a foundation, lay out a foundation for governance. Don't leave things to politicians. You will always cry. I had a glimpse of a video that is done by Makoto, Masaki Makoto, and I don't think I'll go back to it. I've actually wrapped it off. People who are influenced by politics, I cannot sit in the same room with them. You have to be clean of politics today to lead South Africa. You have to be clean, completely clean of politics. And even as you come, you must be able to say, I'm not wearing my political cap. I come as a true patriot. And I thank you.